I never really had a best friend growing up, except for that fiesta we celebrated at my grandmother's house, where I met a cousin who was just like me. That day, I learned that we had distant family coming over, out-of-towners who seldom showed up to gatherings. I shifted in my seat as soon as I heard the news. It had taken me a while to get used to spending an entire day in a house that wasn't ours. The only happy place I got used to was inside my room, where I would play all day to my heart's content. My mother never let me play with my big sister, who was always out on the street, hanging out with friends her age. I never had that privilege. My grandma said it was a distant aunt who was coming over, along with her daughter. When I saw them at the gate, I felt an urge to run inside. But there were even more people there whom I wasn't comfortable with. So I picked the lesser evil and decided to make do with faces I had never seen before. One of my aunts, my mom's younger sister, welcomed the guests and ushered them in. Since I was the only other person right by the door, I found myself being introduced. The aunt I was meeting for the first time pinched my cheeks and then introduced me to my cousin. She was the same age as I was, and that was a first for me. I had never interacted with anyone my age at a family gathering. I had a cousin who was a year older, but he and my big sister seemed to be joined at the hip whenever we had get-togethers. They never ran out of things to talk about and always found a way to play games that no longer had room for one more player. This cousin grabbed my hand and immediately asked me if I wanted to play. I asked her what kind of game she had in mind. She said it didn't matter, and we could always invent one with rules of our own. My heart was brimming with joy I couldn't contain. Today, I had been picked for the first time. My mind cherished the invisible contract that this wonderful person made with me, and I was more than happy to play. From morning until afternoon, my cousin and I played all sorts of games. We threw all rules out the window and did come up with our own for each one. It was the most fun I had at a family celebration without looking at the clock and begging my mom for us to go home. She chose me, and in an unprecedented way, I felt complete. When it was time for her and her mom to go home, she held both my hands and told me she was going to miss me. She said I was her best friend. We hugged goodbye, and I called out by the gate that I would see her again soon. I couldn't wait for the next fiesta. After they had left, I overheard one of my aunts saying that their family was migrating abroad in a few months. My heart sank. One of my uncles noticed and even pointed it out to everyone.